This is Boston Chris with the ETX ROCKS Show, and this is another great episode of ETX Rocks featuring Jon Young.
From the unknown to the stars, from the couch to the car, from the unheralded and the unheard, to the legends and beyond, it's where we all belong. Yes, this is where it all starts. From every genre, from every plane, this is where the music's played. So tune right in, won't you bring a friend? This is where it all begins. Welcome to the show, let the music flow of every style and creed. And you can bet your socks that ETX rocks, ETX rocks.
Hey guys, Boston Chris, and you are tuned into the number one resource for independent music in Northeast Texas. It's the ETX Rock Show, episode number 283, and we have a huge treat for you guys out there today. Now, if you're a fan of multi-genre music like we are, and you pick up a record from the record store, maybe you go to iTunes, you listen to the record all the way through, you hear 5 or 6 different styles of music, and you're just in heaven, and Jon Young is your guy right here. First time on the show, we're super excited to have him, all the way from Stephenville, Texas.
Thank you for having me.
And it's the Jon Young.
The Jon Young.
Because it's a common name and you want to differentiate yourself on Facebook, right?
It all comes down to one thing. There's a rapper out of Florida named
Yes,
Jon Young.
yeah.
So I have to be the Jon Young to kind of get my spot on the internet.
Yeah. You go on Spotify and they'll play it back to back like it's the same artist, and I was just like, wait a minute. I don't think that's the Jon Young we're having in today.
It's been a common problem. I've been in bands since 1996, but honestly, I've only been using my name for about 7 years now.
Yeah.
He started using his name doing rap music out of, I guess it's Orlando in Florida in maybe 2002.
Wow.
So
You beat him.
I beat him technically, but he beat me by using the name first.
Well, who was born first?
I would bet that I was probably born
Well, then
first.
it's your name.
It is my name. Yeah.
It's just the way it is, man.
Yeah.
Sorry, but you know.
Oh, it's an interesting experience, and it always has been. And the funniest story that goes along with that is honestly one time I was planning a birthday party, and we had it at this place called Bull Nettle in Stephenville. And I get a call from my mom, and she's at her physical therapist. And she sees a sports, basically it's like a little book that tells the dates that all the football games are
Like
going
a
to be.
media guide.
Yeah, it's a media guide. It's got an advertisement for that bar, and it says Jon Young's Birthday Bash with a picture of the white rapper Jon Young on it. This was distributed all across Erath County, no telling where. And it was just when we finally got back down to it, the people just didn't do their research, and they put the first Jon Young that came up on the Google search on there.
Yeah.
But it was pretty funny.
So you had to show up wearing like a backwards hat and baggy jeans.
Oh, the picture was great too because it's obvious. It's like that was the first thing my mom said. She said, "I saw an advertisement for your show coming up, and that's not your picture."
I don't remember you ever looking like
Yeah, I
that,
don't
Jon.
remember you ever having a phase where you wear your hat backwards and look like that.
They have all giant graffiti letters all over you. I think I've seen that picture, actually.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, Jon brought his guitarist Andrew here today, and they're going to play a few songs for us. The first song is the single that just ran its course. It's called Rebel and Relics.
Yes, sir.
And this was a huge hit for you. I think it hit the top 20.
Yes, well, it made it to number 30, I believe.
Well, that's close enough.
It was so close, so
Yeah.
close.
But even top 30 is ridiculous, man. Congratulations.
Thank you
on
so
that.
much. I appreciate
But
that.
tell us about the song and how you wrote it and all that.
So, Rebel and Relics is about gentrification. I wrote that song about a little record store that used to exist in Stephenville, Texas. It was called Impact Sound. Impact Sound was there from when I was growing up. Hastings moved to town,
Right.
came to Stephenville, and they said, we can't exist in the same shopping center as Impact Sound. So the people that own the shopping center just didn't renew their lease.
Wow, they were there first.
They were there
Yeah.
first. So they ran them out of town. They were real good friends of mine. This is one of those old shops, and they still exist here and there, but it's kind of becoming a rarity. You go in, and the guy that owned the place, he would be sitting there waiting for basically you to tell him what you were into, and then he would make sure that when you came into that store, every time you came in there, you would have something there for you. And I mean, he'd go, oh, I got that new U2 CD, I've got that new Nine Inch Nails poster, I've got whatever. And it was a great experience. I learned a lot about music. I met some of my best friends. My original band all used to work there.
Right.
So when that place went under, it was kind of it hurt. It hurt a lot of us. And I wrote Rebel and Relics the week that Hastings went out of business. They filed bankruptcy and had to close all their stores.
It's called karma, folks.
Yeah, karma finally caught up with them. And I know it wasn't a big deal to them. It was one of those decisions probably like, oh, I get those guys out of here.
Right.
But it hurt us because, we grew up with that store, and that was where I learned about a lot of music, and it was a great place. But I wrote that song just about gentrification. It's out with the old and in with the new, make way for the chosen, save a relic or two, you know. And that's happening all over the world. It's not just a Stephenville thing. There's.
And I think we all have like that place in our minds, whether it's from our childhood or adolescence or whatever.
Right.
The local hangout or the local pizza parlor that went under or whatever. So it's very relevant to a lot of folks.
Right.
And I don't think you actually even say the word record store in the song, so you keep it open ended, right?
It says it on the second verse. The record store went under.
Okay.
When the chain store came to town. But it is. I kind of keep it a little bit ambiguous, a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's more about the feeling of that in reality, like old ways of thinking are relics.
Yeah.
And they're on their way out. There's some things that are making their way out, and we get all this new information and all these different things that are pushed upon us, and really in a lot of ways we should cherish these old things, these old institutions. One of the bigger stories from Stephenville from when I was growing up, we used to have a Wolf Nursery. And Wolf Nursery at one point was this big nursery that was nationwide. It went out of business. They had a house there that the man that started that business in the 1920s built himself out of petrified wood.
Wow.
So he had traveled the country picking up petrified wood and built a whole house, and the outside was just petrified wood and concrete. Beautiful. Millions of years worth of wood.
Yeah.
So I was in high school at the time, and a company wanted to develop that. So there was an actual club in town that was trying to preserve it. They went before the city council. They were doing everything they could to try to get this place moved to the historical grounds and save it because it was just such a part of Stephenville. Mm-hmm. That company came in the middle of the night and bulldozed it to the ground.
Wow.
And put a Jack-in-the-Box there. Now, that Jack-in-the-Box is about 20 years old now, and it's nothing compared to what that old house was.
Oh,
millions of years of petrified wood.
Jeez.
These are the kind of things that helped me write that song.
There are certain things that make me hate human beings, man.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Come on, man.
Yep.
What would have taken? What, maybe $5 or $10 grand to move it?
It wouldn't have been really that hard, I don't think.
Yeah,
and really, it was more of like the people are getting mad, so let's just be done with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But
ridiculous. But guys, we're really excited to showcase this song here live from the ETX Rocks living room. Completely unplugged, by the way. It's Rebel and Relics from the Jon Young, not the rapper.
Kids these days just don't give a damn about anything outside the little screen in their hands. I miss back when whole albums were good, when my heroes stood for something and they marked where they stood. It's hard to sit by and watch it wither away. I got their boulders in my memories almost every day. Trying to send to love. What they were selling, now they're selling us too. We're just black and red in jars of loss and profit. Out with the old and then with the new. Make way for the chosen, say where they go to. Arcade burned in the spring of '89. The record shop went under when the chain stores arrived. Nobody wept when they met with their end, but a few of us remember just how cool it had been. I miss the days when we'd sneak out to show, singing songs of tea All the cold eyes of the future inside a machine. Turning us into rubble and relics. Bought what they were selling, now they're selling us to. We're just black and red and jobs were lost and profit. I'm with the old and in with the new. Make way for the chosen, say where they go to. Where they go to. Turning us into rubble and relics. Bought what they were selling, now they're selling us too. We're just black and red in jars with loss and profit. Out with the old and in with the new. Make way for the chosen, say where they go to.
All right, so we are back once again. It's episode 283 of the ETX ROCKS Show. Unbelievable. We're almost done with season 3. We do have a few names lined up for our big season 3 finale, which will be episode 300. We're going to be filming that live on location from the Texas Country Music Awards in October. And we have Curtis Grimes, Bree Bagwell, Brandon Ryder, Katie Lynn, and Doug Supernaw so far lined up for that
That's
show.
awesome.
We still have 3 more people that we're waiting for confirmation from. So the plan is 8 really, really big names from the state of Texas for that show. You going to the awards this year?
I'm not sure yet. Probably.
You should. It's
Yeah.
in Fort Worth,
Fort Worth?
at the Will Rogers Auditorium.
Awesome. Well, that won't be too bad. We're only an hour from Fort
Oh,
Worth.
yeah, there you go. Can't say I'm not plugging you, Linda. I got your back. Yeah, I love what they're doing, man.
That's awesome.
It's I know there's a lot of award shows in Texas, but I think the more recognition the artists here can get, the better for the whole
Absolutely.
community.
Yeah.
All right, so a lot of times when I'm listening to the music, now we film the songs beforehand and then we talk after the songs. And it's really hard for me to get through the filming of the song sometimes without asking questions between takes. And it was really difficult for me today. So, again, I mentioned in the open, you're all over the place stylistically
Right.
with your writing. I mean, you're Americana, you've got jazz influences. You can hear the blues in there. There's a lot of soul
Right.
in your voice. Your guitar playing is completely different than a lot of lead men as well.
Totally.
Where are you coming from with all this? I mean,
I started off as a rock and roller, so there's a lot of that element to what I do, which that's more of like the
melodic
guttural
stuff.
soul, melodic
Yeah.
type stuff. And then I've gone through different phases throughout my career, and I started making music in 1996 with a rock band. About 2005, I started doing some folk music. And that was around the time I was introduced to a songwriter named Richard Lee.
okay.
So Richard Lee is a Nashville songwriter from the old days, and his big hits are "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue," a Crystal Gale.
Okay.
He wrote "The Man I Never Knew" that Reba McEntire
Reba, yeah.
made a hit out of.
Killer song.
Killer songs. And then he wrote this song called "Somewhere in My Broken Heart," and it's a Billy Dean song. And when I was growing up, Billy Dean was one of my idols,
Yeah.
just because I was a '90s kid. And that song,
Yes.
Billy the Kid and Somewhere in My Broken Heart were just beautiful songs. And
I saw him
I loved
open
it.
for Reba one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Which he's an amazing, amazing artist. But Billy Dean, I was into him. And then, lo and behold, Richard Lee became good friends with Larry Joe Taylor. And he started coming to the Larry Joe Taylor Music Festival there in Stephenville, Texas. So in about 2005, 2006, I went to go see a show at a local bar in Boston. It was called Bostock's. And they were doing it the same week as Larry Joe Taylor, and he had brought his favorite songwriters to come do a little small acoustic show at a local club. Nobody showed up, and a friend had called me and he said, "You need to come down here. This is amazing." So I went and sat down there, and I was in between bands, and I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I watched him play, and I was like, "Wow, that's really just amazing." But it got way better when after the show was over. We all went to a local hotel, and just sat around and passed around the guitar.
Wow.
So I watched Richard Lee play "Somewhere in My Broken Heart" about 3 foot from him on a classical guitar, and I watched about 3 men, grown men, almost to the point of tears, because it touched us all. Everyone in the room, it was like you got goosebumps.
Yeah.
And I threw away my pick when I got home.
Wow.
And I started playing with my fingers. And that was he's the guy where I sit back and I go, okay, so you can do more on the guitar than what I'm doing. Because at that point I was into power chords. It was all just lots of chords and lots of angst, you know. And this was something more. It was substance. It was he could do like the lead melody over the top while he was picking. Mm-hmm. I mean, it changed my whole outlook. It makes it
sound like there's two different guitar players playing.
Right.
And it's retarded when I see it, man.
Yeah.
It's just, we'll be sitting here in the living room and we'll be like, wait, is there a loop pedal somewhere?
Well, it's all about just getting your own distinct version of it, because there's a whole bunch of different ways, and there's technique to playing fingerstyle. Mm-hmm. But what I did is I put down my pick for about a year, and I just jumped in and just tried to just figure out, and I just wanted my thumb to do what his thumb did, which was keep that bass line going, try to keep those higher melodies in the mix as well. And what I found out of it was what my style has become. And not all of my songs use that, but enough of them do that I try to. It's a singer-songwriter style for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, again, what I love about music, guys, and I've said this on the show multiple times, every artist has their own set of influences, their own set of inspirations, and it's almost like you're building a dinner. You know, you have all of these different ingredients, and the final thing that comes out is your dinner. And that's what makes music so great, is every artist is completely unique in that aspect. Because, I mean, I might like Elvis and Tom Petty, you might like Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen.
Right.
And it's going to be completely different.
Yes, oh, absolutely.
You know, and that's what makes, especially independent music, so wonderful, because you add those influences and add all that freedom with it. And you end up with what Jon Young does, which is just unbelievable.
Well, thank you.
And I know your first album, was a huge hit for you. Won some awards with that too, I believe, right?
Not really any awards with it.
As a singer-songwriter.
Yes. Well, as far as like, it definitely propelled me in a couple of really good directions, and it got me involved with some really good people. But as far as awards and things, you know, I've been in a lot of competitions and things, and I've won a few little awards here and there. But that first album was really, it was, I had to get it out. Whereas Relic, this new record, has kind of a purpose, and each song leads towards what the overall record is. Ashes of Dreams of Fire was a collection of songs from about 10 years that it was just a long time coming album. It was one of those ones that I just had to get it out. It didn't have a direction as much as it just had a lot of songs. Yeah. And I love a lot of those songs.
And you can definitely tell that there's a lot more strategy in Relic than there was in the first one.
Agreed.
Just from listening, you can hear that. I wouldn't say Relic is a concept album because, I mean, it's really not, but it's close to that. I mean, if you really listen, there's a lot of substance there.
Yes.
And
what we were going for was we were trying to capture a sound. And the whole idea with Relic, if you look at the album cover itself, it's got a sea of cars. It's about the disposable nature of humanity. And that goes back to the idea of Rubble and Relics and the album Relic itself. It's just about, you know, that there's these things that we should really be cherishing. And a lot of that is our culture that's passed down. A lot of that is these important places that mean something to our society, that mean something to our towns and our cities. And it's just about, you know, the world and the state we're in.
Yeah. And John's been playing music a long time. You said 96, but 96. I believe you were 14 when you started, right?
Yes, I was.
That's ridiculous.
It's been a long journey for sure.
So what were you doing at 14? You're fronting bands at 14?
I was. But I originally started off as a singer, and I played guitar, but more or less I just sang for a rock group, and we just did a lot of Nirvana covers and things. Yeah. And that was, but like you said, every ingredient goes towards the final product.
Yeah.
So those early years of just playing all those songs really taught me a lot about melody.
Yeah, you had to have that.
Oh, you have to have that. Absolutely.
It's going to teach you about melody, but also about the performance of the art as well, being able to connect with an audience.
And cutting your teeth in clubs is a very important thing with the development of an artist. If you've never done that before, you don't really fully grasp what this is, because that's the biggest part you have to, the hurdle you have to get over is walking out on that stage, being able to try to connect with an audience and really not letting them dominate your feelings.
Yeah, it's important, and it's just the evolution process can be forever for an artist. So, speaking of the evolution process for you, you mentioned that you basically started out in cover bands. I know a lot of people start out that way.
Right.
That's a typical thing.
Yes.
Was it that chance meeting with Richard Lee that turned you into a songwriter, or were you writing already?
I was writing a lot already by that point. By the time I met him, I probably had 100 songs.
Wow.
And they were, some of them are as goofy as, little love songs from a girlfriend in high school. It just... But each one of those, I would take a little bit from, and it would show me what I wanted to do with my music. And I've used the little bits and pieces all the way through. But Richard Lee was the point where I said, I want to do this like he's doing it, and I want to be serious about it, and I want it to be something that's beautiful, and try to really put time and effort into it versus just singing a song about being depressed or something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now, for songwriters out there, there's several phases that you go through between, a blank piece of paper to a song on a record. There's, hearing a melody or a lyric or a hook or something like that. Right. There's bringing it to the studio. There's adding the instrumentation to it. There's all of that. So what part of that process do you hear a genre? Or do you begin to hear a genre with the song? It
happens song by song. So whatever mood I'm in when I'm writing the song, probably whatever I'm listening to has a lot to do with it. I can go back and I can kind of tell you on each song what I was really kind of into at that point and what I was thinking. But I let the song write itself rather than try to force it to be anything that it's not.
Yeah.
So, and I just have a wide palette as far as music that I like. I grew up playing in concert and marching band, so I've got that side of my music ability is very, it's all about getting good structure. And I love a good structure. I love good chords. I like to be entertained myself when I play it, but honestly, it's just a little bit of everything. I played a little jazz in high school, and all of that kind of made me who I am.
There's a lot of jazz vibes in the production of your latest record, for sure. And I think that has a lot to do with the players you have on it, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
But, you just talk about the first two singles from the record. The first one, which we've been discussing, and you guys have already seen played, Rubble and Relic, sorry. Reminds me a lot of, like, the late 80s, Bryan Adams, Don Henley kind of style. But then the new single, which you guys will see at the very end of the episode, and it's called Oh, the Things I've Seen.
Oh, the Things I've Seen.
This reminds me of, like, Merle Haggard doing bluegrass, man. Like
it's a folk waltz is what I like to call it, but it has a very bluegrass feel. It's got the dobro, a little mandolin, stand-up bass.
Yeah.
We wanted it to be very organic because it's a very organic song. It's a song about life.
It's hard to believe they're on the same record.
Right. Yeah, that they're complete opposite ends of the spectrum as far as, and I like that. I think that's an interesting way to go about it. As far as I want people to listen to that Rebel and Relic song and then go to the next one and be like, wow, this is a totally different record.
And that's awesome because it makes it feel like you're reading a book, man. It's like every song's a chapter.
Yes.
And as a music fan that needs relevant content to be interested. You got me, man.
Awesome. That's what we're after.
And I'm really, really interested and intrigued to see how radio embraces the new single.
Me too.
Because the first one did so well.
It did.
And this one is so different than that. So I'm really interested to see how it does.
It's a fine line that you walk because we had a lot of stations that loved Rebel and Relics.
Yeah.
But we had a lot that said, that's too rock and roll for our format.
Yep.
So in going the opposite way, we did a complete 180, and now we've got this other sound, and honestly, I'm curious to see kind of what everybody thinks about it as well, because I love this song. It means a lot to me, and it's a special one, and I want to see it do well.
It's incredibly good.
Thank you.
And we've interviewed probably 350 folks on the show. You have one of the best voices I've heard on the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So soulful and sultry. I'm saying that to another man. I know. Don't comment below about that. I love his voice.
Thank you.
I think it's incredible.
Hey, I could take a compliment. I appreciate it. Thank
no
you.
problem. So we're sitting here with Jon Young. It's episode 283. Very first time on the ETX ROCKS Show. I want to thank Mr. Gilligan out there. Is it Gilligan Promotions, I think is
Yes.
the name of the company. I want to thank you for setting this up. Hopefully we can do more business with him in the future.
He's a good
I know
guy.
he works with a lot of artists
He
in the
does.
state
Very
of
good
Texas.
artist.
So you mentioned off camera that you have some connection to East Texas, the Mount Vernon area.
Yes, my granddaddy was from Mount Vernon, and really growing up, he moved in the 50s to Midland, Texas. So
Okay.
you can imagine
That's a culture shock.
that's a culture shock. And the craziest part, my grandmother was a war bride. And
Oh, okay.
she came over from England during World War II. So she came over. He had told her that they owned a farm in East Texas. So she got here, and come to find out there were sharecroppers in the 1940s in East Texas, which meant that they didn't even have a bathroom, really. I mean,
Wow.
pretty intense stuff. Had an outhouse. It's
Right.
it's the old days, but they opened up a business in East Texas. It burnt to the ground, and I think it was kind of an omen for him. He wasn't real happy, so they went where the oil was, and that was Midland, Texas. So I spent a lot of time growing up in Midland, Texas, but we used to come up here to Mount Vernon and a couple of other little places, Mineola, come visit some relatives out here, and we had great times. East
Yeah.
Texas is amazing.
Well, it's nice to have you here, man. You
Yes,
know, the
thank you.
Piney Woods of East Texas are almost like an island musically.
They really
It's
are.
hard to get folks up here.
I could
and
see
it's
that.
hard to get folks out of here, too, to be honest. Unless you're like Casey Musgraves or Miranda Lambert, Maren
True.
Morris,
Yeah.
you know.
Good looking?
Those
Is that what you're
girls,
going
yeah,
for?
you gotta be good looking, which means I'm gonna
They're
die.
amazingly
I'll
talented,
die
too,
in
though.
East Texas. 'Cause, yeah, the good looking thing's not happening for me. That bus is. I was gonna say that bus has sailed, but that doesn't work, I guess.
Unless you have one of those sailing buses.
Yeah, one of those duck boat buses that they do for the Super Bowl and World Series.
Yep.
Those would be cool to have.
I think that would be really cool to have.
Yeah, just drive anywhere you want, even if it's a lake.
They have ATV versions of those.
Oh,
That'd be awesome.
I bet you those are cheaper too.
Well, cheaper than a bus, I would guess.
Yeah,
for
they
sure.
would have to be. Jeez, it's crazy. So yeah, again, if you're just tuning in, we're here with Jon Young, music bipolar over here. Americana, Texas country, folk, rock, you name it. This guy's bringing it to the table. Jazz, blues. So as a youngster, how are you being exposed to all of these different styles of music?
So the way I've been explaining it, and this is just the easiest way for me to kind of get a show you where I come from.
Right.
My father was into Bob Wills, and my mom was into the Beatles.
Okay.
So everywhere in between there is where I.
So
really
basically
sit.
everything.
It's basically everything.
Yeah.
So I grew up with a lot of country. I mean, I'm from Central Texas. Just it's very country
Yeah,
there.
you can't get away from
You
it.
can't really get away from it. But also, I grew up with a little case of 45 records that my mom had given me. And some of these records, I mean, they go all over the place. But my very favorite record from that was a Beatles 45. One side was Yellow Submarine, and the other side was Eleanor Rigby.
Wow.
And so that was where I first was just like, wow, I want to know more about this band. Because I listened to that over and over and over again.
Yeah.
But in that same little record case, I had Merle Haggard, Johnny Paycheck. There was all sorts of stuff in there. So it was all over the place. And, I just listened to them over and over
That's
again.
awesome. And I know that you said you're a 90s country fan as
Right.
well. So there is a lot of harmony involved in your
Oh,
music.
yeah.
It has to be.
Yes.
How important is harmony to you in a production standpoint?
Super important. I think one voice is a beautiful thing, but multiple voices create a mood. And it really gives it a
Is
nice
it hard for you to
sparkle.
find somebody that can kind of add character to your voice?
Sometimes. It just depends. And we've had my first, so this is just between you and me and us. My first record, there's no other voice on that album but mine.
Yeah.
And I did every harmony part, sometimes 3 or 4 part harmonies on some of these, and it was awesome.
So you probably didn't speak for a month after you recorded.
No, it was very easy. I already had, like I said, these were songs that were 10 years in the making.
Right.
So when we came back for Relic, the idea was that we were going to produce a record like they produced back in the 70s and 80s, and that was where we intentionally tried to make our guitar sound a little more 80s. Our drums, just use these little mic tricks and things to try to make the sound vintage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So part of that was I didn't want to be robotic John harmonies on it. So we brought in a lot of artists for that one, and that was really the first time in the studio that I got to actually go in and really work with some amazing vocalists. And
So who was on the record with you?
on that record, Kinsey Coppin is on several songs. Randall King. Mike McClure.
Heavy hitters, man.
Heavy hitters. They're most of those guys are on The Things I've Seen. They're doing the harmonies
Oh
throughout
my
it.
goodness.
Caitlin Butts. Let's see. And Brandon Adams.
I don't know that name.
Brandon Adams is a real good friend of mine. He's a Lubbock artist.
Okay.
He's amazing.
I'll
He's
check him out.
kind of underground a little bit, but he's fantastic.
Is it hard to sing when you're underground?
A little bit. It's hard to get noticed.
Get a lot of dirt in your mouth.
That's
right?
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's that real red dirt sound.
Man, so, and so I don't know why they never bring a drummer with them. The funny ones leave their drummers at home. I don't get it, man.
Our drummer's in Colorado.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he took his girlfriend up there on a trip.
Nice.
Having a good time.
Oh, I imagine.
Yeah.
I hear the laws are a little different in Colorado.
They are. They're quite a bit different.
So we're sitting here with Jon Young, not the rapper.
Not the right rapper.
That should just be like in parentheses after your
Right.
name.
Yes.
Maybe not the rapper.
The Jon Young, not the white rapper.
Yeah, that's right.
That should be my Facebook account.
That's a long at though. At the Jon Young, not the white rapper.
It's a great email address too.
You have to put like dashes in between everything too, because they have to put that on billboards now.
Right. Okay.
And the band is Jon Young and the Restless.
Jon
right?
Young and the Restless.
What makes them restless?
I'm not sure. They just do their thing.
Awesome.
They are the Restless though.
All right, so one thing that I love that artists will do, not every artist does it, but I definitely implore you, is that a word? Implore?
Yes.
Yes. I definitely implore you to maybe try it out, okay? A lot of venues will want you to play cover songs just because they feel that it's more connectable to the audience.
Right.
I disagree. I think original music is more connectable, but that's just my opinion.
Right.
But what you've done is you've gone a step further. You put a cover song on the Relic album.
Yes.
And you said off camera this came to you in a dream.
Yes.
So first, I want to know what kind of things have to happen within your mind to choose a cover song, not just for a record, but also to perform it. And then, what kind of strategy are you using to kind of make it Jon Young?
Just if I can put my little version of it, my take on it, that'll make it Jon Young, because anything that I'm going to put myself into it'll come out sounding like what I do for sure.
Right.
But as far as picking a cover song and figuring out what you want to do with it, it has to, number one, be a song that you enjoy, because it has to mean something to you. Otherwise, you're just pandering.
Right.
And really, to me, if I'm going to put a cover song on a record, I really want it to be something that's unique. It doesn't need to be a completely rehashed version of a song where you can guess what's coming up. And there's some of those that are great, and I understand that, but that is just like being at a show. And we do have to play cover songs when we play shows, because really you want to connect with people, and the only way that you can connect as a new artist without them knowing your material is to find something from their past.
Yep.
And tap into it. And unfortunately,
And
that
then put
is the
your spin
business.
on it.
Right.
Yeah.
So to make it more interesting for us, I like to put a little spin on it and take it a different direction and kind of see what comes out.
So I'm pretty sure I know his answer to this question, but do you think it's more? Which one do you think is more important? To do a cover song and try to sound as much like the original as possible, or do a cover song and try to sound more like you, but still kind of keep the tribute portion of the song intact?
I prefer it to sound like the artist,
Okay.
like that's going to do it. Put your own emphasis on it and make it mean something to you. But if you're going to be playing for a venue that wants people to dance, they want to hear Amarillo by Morning like they played it on the record.
Right.
So
It's a tough balance.
it's a balancing
Yeah.
act. It is. And really, I mean, if you go out there and you mess up a George Strait song, someone's going to probably be waiting
Yeah,
for you in
you
the parking
probably
lot.
go outside and at least 2 of your tires are going to be slashed in
Right.
the state of Texas.
Yeah.
You might get away with that in like Montana or something
True.
like that, but
True.
not here in the state of Texas. Not going to happen. And that's why you shouldn't cover George Strait songs.
That's a good point.
There's a reason why you don't hear Mariah Carey songs at karaoke too, you know?
Nobody's got that voice.
Yeah, well, she can't even do Mariah Carey songs at karaoke anymore. Unless it's like a backing track, I understand.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I saw some New Year's thing a couple years ago where she was not singing.
I know the last thing I saw of her, she was kind of getting out there a little bit.
Yeah, she was a little weird.
A little weird. It happens.
But
You can't be that famous and not be a little weird.
Yeah, that's true. But being 90s kids, we probably both liked Mariah back in the day.
Well, my dog used to always go nuts. I mean, it means something.
That was his polite way of saying, hell no, I didn't like Mariah Carey. But I was asking about cover songs because there is a cover song on the record, Relic.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Crazy by Gnarls Barkley.
Yes.
And you put it on the record because you dreamed about this song.
So we were in the studio making Relic. And really, when I went in the studio with Relic, I had 10 songs that I wanted to do. We cut it back to 8, and then eventually cut it back to 7 when we added Crazy to it. And, you know, there's all sorts of reasons why I did that, but when we were in the studio, I was, you know, sleeping one night, and I had this very intense dream of being in the club, and I heard a version of Crazy that was very Motownish.
Yeah.
And I could hear it when I woke up. I woke up that morning, and I got up, and I was like, oh my God, I have to remember this. And so I went to my piano in my living room, and I sat down, and I figured out what key it was in. So F. Okay. Well, then I started just building from there. And the whole song came out in probably about 10 minutes. And
So it's almost like rewriting the song.
right. Yeah, that's exactly, and that's how it went down. It sounds ridiculous, but it was such a rush to get it done because I didn't want to lose it. Because, I mean,
Yeah.
you know how it is when you wake up from a dream, you can remember things, and all at once you're like, oh, wait, what was I talking about? But this one came out so smoothly, and when I took it to the studio and showed the guys, they were blown away. I mean, and when we started cutting that, it was apparent. It's like, this is something very different than what we were
just hearing
gonna
it
do.
acoustically, man.
Right.
It's so organic, man. I can't believe you took a pop song and made it organic and raw and emotional and soulful. You guys are not going to believe what you're about to hear. It's Crazy by Jon Young. Y'all check it out.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions had an echo in so much space. When you're out there without a care, yes, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Yeah. Does that make me crazy? Whoa, possibly. I hope that you are having, I hope that you are having the time of your life. Whoa, think twice. That's my only advice. So come on now, who do you think you are? Whoa. express your soul. You really think you're in control? Well, I think you're crazy. I think you're crazy. Yeah. I think you're crazy. Oh, just like me. My heroes have the heart to lose their lives out on them. And all I can remember, yeah, is thinking I wanna be like them. Ever since I was a little, it looked like fun. And it's no coincidence I've come. And I can die when I'm done. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Yeah. I think we're crazy. Whoa, possibly.
All right, so we are back. It's episode 283 of the ETX ROCKS Show. We're here with the Jon Young, not the white rapper. That's not the actual social media. So if people are hearing about you for the first time, where can they follow along with everything you have going on?
Let's see. I believe it's Jon Young Band on Facebook. Jon Young TX Music on Twitter. I do have an Instagram account. I believe it's just Jon C. Young. There's so many of them, it gets kind of hard to keep up with. But if you want to find any of them, you can go to my website at www.thejonyoung.com.
Yeah, and I would definitely implore everybody to go there. I'm going to put the link to the website down in the description below. You can find all of his social media there. That way you don't have to remember the actual typing and all that. You can
that's
just click
the easiest
right
way.
on him. There's a good bio on here. There's links to his music and event calendar.
And in fact, both of the previous singles, I'm about to do it with the newest single, but both of the previous singles you can download for free as MP3s off my website.
You heard it there. So download the 2 singles. The first one is Rebel and Relics. And the next one is Oh, the Things I Have Seen.
Correct. And you can download another song called Let Our Lovin' Grow, which was my single from the first record.
So all 3 singles completely free.
Yes.
It's thejonyoung.com. Go on there, check it out. The lyrics are on there. There's contact information if you're a venue that wants to book John. Just a really cool website, and that's going to be in the description below. So just hit the link, and it'll bring you right there and download your free music, man. You can't do better than that.
You can't beat that with a stick.
No, not at all. All right, so if you guys are tuned into us for the first time, we definitely want to thank you for spending some time with us today. You can find everything we have going on at ETX Rocks. We're located on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, even though Twitter is a ghost town for us.
Right.
I think Clint Eastwood has plans to make a Western on our Twitter soon.
I feel the same way. I still don't get Twitter.
Yeah.
We're right at that age group where you're like, it doesn't really apply to us.
Yeah.
It does, because you have to do
we
it.
have a slew of followers on there. I just don't ever tweet.
Well,
We have like an automatic tweet system.
Right. I still just don't get it quite
Yeah.
yet. I tried to do it, and I get on there, and my wife is always, she's like, you need to use your Twitter. You need to use all these things. We got to stay active.
Yeah.
I'll get on there and just make a little comment or something, and it's like,
It's hard to remember
what am
what
I
you
doing?
have,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Oh, it gets kind of tough.
Because like our go-to is Facebook, obviously because I'm old. Apparently Facebook is the old social media to all you
it
kids
totally
out
is.
there.
Bigger and better things coming up every day.
Yeah, I know. And so it'll be like 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll be like, oh my God, we have an Instagram too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll throw some posts out on Instagram in the middle of the night.
Now, I love Instagram, but I also like photography.
Yeah.
I've always been into photography with different, I've had cameras and things in the past, but having a phone with that ability now is an amazing thing.
Absolutely.
I like, and really I encourage
It's a good and
people
bad
to-
thing though,
I
because
encourage
people are
people to
taking
go
pictures
back,
of
yeah.
everything now.
Right, but you know what? There's a lot of things that you take for granted that we look at every day, but when you really step back and you look at it, it's kind of an amazing thing. And
Yeah.
I try to make my Instagram more like just fun. It's literally just walking around looking through my eyes. You know, if I find something that's cool, I'll just take a picture of it.
John C. Young.
John
on
C. Young.
Instagram.
Yes.
It's a good follow. He just told you. So you get to see the world through his eyes.
Yes.
And you don't
Sometimes
know
it's a little gritty.
Yeah, you might not know how warped that might be.
Right.
Because he's a musician. I'm sure you play the honky tonks and stuff.
Oh, yeah. We do. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. Always
right.
interesting.
You got to take pictures of both sides of the coin, right? Also, if you guys are listening on our audio podcast out there, we also have this available in high definition video over on our YouTube. You can just go to youtube.com/C/The ETX Rock Show, or just put ETX Rocks into your search icon there. You're going to find almost 1,500 videos on our channel there.
Wow.
Unbelievable that we have that much stuff on there. And we're adding stuff daily. So make sure you head over to YouTube, watch the video here with Jon Young. You get to see our pretty mugs on there. All the audio people out there are like, what are they laughing at?
Yeah.
If you want to know what we're laughing at, go over to YouTube and just timestamp where we are on the episode. And you'll be able to find this spot in the show.
Yeah.
Make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube and the little bitty bell right next to the subscribe button. That'll notify you whenever we have new content available on the channel. That subscribe button really helps us out because the more subscribers we have, it changes the algorithms on YouTube and makes our videos more available in the recommended sections of YouTube, which means more exposure for artists like Jon Young and all the other awesome people we've had on the show. So hit the subscribe button. It's completely free to do. Unless you hit the button twice, and then we're going to charge you $9.99 in Japanese yen, which is like 30 cents.
Really? Learn something new every day.
Yeah. All you got to do is have like $4.99 in American dollars and change it to yen, and you're technically a millionaire at that point.
Really?
Only in Japan. Because everybody in Japan is a millionaire.
Awesome. That's good.
All you got to do is have a couple bucks. We do want to thank you guys for subscribing, all you folks out there that have. We're closing in on 1,500 subs already. Super excited about that. I know we just got to 1,000 in February. So almost 500 subs in 4 months. That's crazy. Definitely appreciate you guys following along with the journey. Also, we are completely self-funded on this show, so we could definitely use your help because we are low budget. And I emphasize the word low budget. Yeah, we actually have Walmart lamp trees right here in the living room. No joke. One of them has like 5 different colors. And we're just going for the concert feel there. Yeah.
It's real nice.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm going with, and I'm sticking to it. So we could definitely use your help if you guys would like to support the ETX Rock Show. We have set up a donate link for you guys out there to do just that. That's located at www.paypal.me/ETX Rocks. And we definitely appreciate all your help. It's because of y'all out there that we were able to launch a brand new website in March of this year with almost 30,000 hits on it already. So thank you guys so much for that. And that website is located at www.etxrocks.show. And you'll find almost 11,000 hours of live music content on there. It's crazy. When I say we are the #1 resource for independent music in Northeast Texas, I am not lying. The proof is in the pudding, and you can find the proof at etxrocks.show. So check that out. And as we always say on the ETX Rock Show, we want to thank you guys out there for always supporting live music of all genres and all styles. And don't ever forget,
ETX rocks.
That's right.
All on the top of a mountain, I've sailed through dark endless seas. I've been 2,000 miles for the love of a woman. Oh, the things I've seen. Drive cattle to the heart of a sunset. I've known the silence of being alone. And it's simpler, I think, to just pick and drink. Oh, the things I've seen. It's easy to not be excited when the world comes hammering down. Take shelter, my friends, this isn't the end. Oh, the things I've seen. Newborn in the arms of his mother, I saw the love in her eyes as he grew. Still she worries now and then, oh, someday he'll be a man. Oh, the things I've seen. It's easy to not be excited world comes hammering down. Take shelter, my friend, this isn't the end. Oh, the things I've seen. Saw an old man in the mirror this morning. Oh, his face was as cold as stone. How can this be? That old man is me. Oh, the things I've seen. It's easy to not be excited when your world comes hammering down. Take shelter, my friend, this isn't the end. Whoa, things I've seen. Take shelter, my friend, this isn't the end. Whoa, things I've seen.
From the unknown to the stars, from the couch to the car, from the unheralded and the unheard, to the legends and beyond, it's where we all belong. Yes, this is where it all starts. From every genre, from every plane, this is where the music's played. So tune right in, won't you bring a friend? This is where it all begins. Welcome to the show, let the music flow, of every style and creed. And you can bet your socks that ETX rocks.